Welcome back. It's early on Tuesday morning, and there's a lot to talk about because this pattern really has my attention. Forget about the warm-up coming this weekend. There's a lot more after that, and this is a winter that does not want to go away, and I'm going to show you the reasons why it doesn't want to go away, and also the reasons why the end of this month into March is really a period we have to watch. So in the short run, let's start off here. Here's our little wave or storm system, if you want to call it, that came through. Dropped a few inches of snow last night. It's still snowing in some areas now. That pulls out. Ahead of it, a lot of warm air. As you can see with these red lines, this indicates warm air is going to be coming into the region. Another little wave wants to develop on Thursday. Right now, I'm not too concerned about that. That could change. It bears watching, but not too concerned. And here comes the warm-up. So these are temperatures going into the 50s end of the week. Here comes a nice little cold front that's going to swing through the area. This weekend, put some rain, reduce the snowpack, probably by a decent amount, but it's not going to wipe it out. But it'll reduce it. And then watch out, because after we get past this weekend, we are not out of the woods. It's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for this pattern to reload and do what I think it's going to do. But this is the period we have to watch. It's after this weekend, heading into, sorry about that, heading into March. That we have to watch, and let me explain why. I know I did this on Sunday, but I want to show you why, what I'm looking at, and why I'm concerned about this pattern moving forward. So again, this is the same period I just took you through. As you can see, high pressure builds in over our region on Friday, really warming things up like we haven't seen in a while. And then that's all due to basically low pressure developing in the Gulf of Alaska, develops a trough over the west coast, ridge in the east. Now that's going to change. Watch the ridge build back up in the Gulf of Alaska and head into the west coast after this weekend. So here's the weekend. Here comes that ridge again, okay? That ridge pumps up warm air to the north, making these areas warm, and it draws down cold air from the north into the eastern third of the country, what you're seeing here by these deeper blue areas. Now, this is the 24th, which is Monday. I know I mentioned I think a storm can develop somewhere between the 24th and 26th. That could still happen. It's still being hinted at, but I really think it's after that period that we could see some real favorable development, and I'm going to show you why right now. So let's go through the period. This is the 25th, 26th. Notice that trough hangs over in the east, and this is actually the polar vortex right there. So the polar vortex is back for eastern Canada, and that's going to bring disturbance after disturbance down into our area. We'll see a little bit of a Clipper-like scenario here, I think, heading into the middle of next week. And then we get to, say, February 28th into the first week of March. And this doesn't look like much because I'll show it to you in more simpler terms in a minute, but this is really catching my eye, and let me show you why. First off, let's look at water vapor imagery out in the Pacific Ocean. Look at all this moisture out here. Okay, this is basically a part of the subtropical jet stream here. Now the problem is, right now this is running into a big ridge of high pressure, and here is the ridge of high pressure. So if I go all the way back here to where we are now, you can see it's running into this ridge of high pressure. So this moisture here is really just going to sit here and slowly bleed its way into the countries. Pieces of it will break off and come into the southern stream, but the bulk of this is staying offshore. But things are going to change. Okay, let's go over here to an overall view of what our disturbances look like. Okay, here is all that energy out here I'm talking about. Okay, now all that energy is going to slowly try to get into our country, but again, it's running into this ridge of high pressure. So right now we have a polar jet stream right here that it's basically giving us a few wavelengths in the overall pattern. You can see like this. Okay, here comes our ridge on the weekend. But watch this energy here. I'm looking at the period after, say, February 25th. Now, if you notice, it tries to start to break in around the 23rd, 24th. So that's why I'm thinking a piece can maybe develop a storm system if it merges with this northern branch. But watch what happens. This is the 23rd. Watch what happens as we get towards the 25th. Watch all this energy come into the United States. Okay? There it is, right there. This is Wednesday, February 26th, 27th, 28th. It just floods in subtropical moisture into the southern part of the west coast, and that comes across the country. At the same time, I'm going to show you this in more illustrative terms in a minute. At the same time, we have a ridge over the west coast like this, and we have the same jet stream splitting with all that energy to the south. So we have another split flow developing, which is what we just saw last week, and that can produce big storms. And let me show you that in a map that's a little bit more illustrated. So here we go. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So this is what it looks like now. Okay, One dominant jet stream, okay, southern stream is back here, but it can't really influence because of the ridge of high pressure off the west coast. Now watch what happens here. So as we get further in to the 28th time period, look at this. It's pretty clear here. You can see the one ridge here, and you can see the southern stream coming out underneath. So that's a split flow jet, like I just said. What that does is you have energy coming out of the north. You have moisture-rich energy coming in off the Pacific Ocean. They have the potential to develop along the East Coast, just like we saw with the big storm last week, okay, and develop storm systems. And I'm going into end of February into March. This does not want to go away into March. This is the last day of February here. You can see a well-defined split flow pattern, and watch out, because this is where I think we could see more significant winter weather reappear in our region. Again, it's the end of next week through the first week of March. That is really the period you have to watch. Anything before that I think is a bonus, but tell you what, before this active period comes into play, check this out. These are the 7 to 12 day departure from average temperatures. This isn't Celsius, but we have temperatures in some areas here that are going to go 10 degrees below normal Celsius and up to 10 degrees below normal Fahrenheit. So cold weather is definitely returning after this weekend. We have a very active pattern on its way, and watch out. So again, it's after the end of next week is what I'm looking at, and maybe earlier next week we can get lucky. But the pattern is changing, and winter is not going away yet, guys. This could last into mid-March. Thanks for checking in.